Alright, we get to talk about the implications of the OCG ban list on the TCG. Make sure you guys smash the link, grab out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more content. So it's the end of an era out here. If you were a Ryzeal main in the OCG, because the OCG finally got sick of watching this deck run around and do stupid things. And I gotta say, I'm not surprised. Like, they already put EX to 1. They limited Bonfire. They, what was it? Went after like 7 Tachyon during the last list and limited it to 2. Konami was slapping this deck on the wrist for as much as they could. And when you make such a generic rank 4 deck, that you were able to see the power that this deck was actually able to do, it was kind of crazy to see. And you know, the fact that they came through, they slapped Sword on the wrist again, they slapped 7 Tachyon on the wrist, they went even further beyond out here with, you know, smashing this deck into the ground. I'm not surprised. Now, the TCG over here, our problem is Ryzeal has reached a power level that never really existed in the OCG right now. You know, we have 7 Tachyons, we have Bonfires, we have all of this power that this deck has going for it right now that was not allowed to be seen in that. And, you know, honestly, our version of the deck is a little bit more manageable than what the OCG was able to deal with. You know, while we also have the Fiendsmith package at full power, which kind of, you know, changes up some of the craziness that has to do with that. I think that when the TCG finally goes to call it quits for Ryzeal, it's going to be rough. But I think right now, you know, we're anticipating the Bonfire hit and, you know, a little bit more of the cleanup that kind of comes around with that. Now, on the flip side of the equation over here, we have Maliss. So Maliss lost good old Dormouse, which really, it was just a major consistency hit. I mean, let's call it what it was. You know, this deck looked at using Dormouse to extend out the White Rabbit trigger, which put basically the 2 bodies on the field, which allowed the deck to functionally do its thing. And before, you know, March Hare came out, where, you know, you were working with essentially the 9 names. Now, you know, you went up to 12, which, well, you know, was a little bit insane. Plus, you got all the Adagnister support on top of that. It's not like you're going to have a hard time getting to the Dormouse, because you got the Signet Mindings, you have all of this, but, you know, you also had collateral damage on the side here from, you know, Shifter getting bonked on the head, you know, and even that Grasslook Screener had to get checked because of the craziness that this deck was doing as well. The Ryzeal and Maliss go very much hand in hand, and honestly, I think Maliss got the easiest way out of this. The Dormouse limitation still allows this deck to functionally do what it needs to do, and that's good. You can still have this deck functioning and doing what it needs to do, and there's not really going to be much of a change in the way that Maliss is going to be. At least on the TCG side of things, we can very much see, you know, Lure of Darkness, some of the previous hits that this deck took actually getting bonked on our side of the game. I can't really imagine that Konami is not going to check Ryzeal and Maliss together. The question is determined by, you know, how soon and, you know, what other approaches are we going to take to this. So for the time being, there are some major swings with this. You can mainly thank Maliss for taking Grass out back and ruining its existence, which is kind of a really big shame, actually. So next up is Snatch Steal. Snatch is definitely an interesting card. I don't think inherently that Snatch Steal is a broken card in the grand scheme of things. What really worries me is, you know, you do have this group of people that are dedicated Menkanko duelists. Conspiracy theory time. Boo, 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 boo. Okay. This makes Menkanko really a much better rogue deck. Menkanko's already incredibly frustrating to play against, so bringing Snatch Steal back into the meta, I think, is a big improvement for giving Menkanko and rogue duelist a chance to play. If you haven't been paying too much attention to the way that the ban list, all the ban lists, shift the game. Konami really likes to push for these going second cards. They want you to be able to do things, especially on the OCG side of things, where, you have things like Appaloosa, Borreload, Savage, these way more toxic boss monsters. I can slap a Snatch Steel on the field, jack my opponent's, boss monster. Now they're in a worse position. The TCG doesn't really have that. Honestly, I think Snatch Steel can come back to 3 here, and it's not going to really do anything. It's going to make Mekonko a pretty cool rogue deck, I guess, for, the 4 to 5 people that choose to play it, but Snatch Steel, it's a going second card that is meant to, get people excited and get them interested in wanting to actually play going second strategies. I mean, things like Change of Heart are cool because, you can technically, pull it off a thrust, I guess. Snatch Steel you can't because it is an equip, but, we do have things like Hidden Armory that can search for that. So that's a cool one. I definitely want to see where that particular piece goes along the way. Now, we've also got Zoo actually getting Barrage back at this point. Now, for those of you that remember the discussion we had a couple weeks back, Zoo was on the list of cards that were receiving QCRs out of China. And they were receiving, some pretty high rarity upgrades out here. And also, I believe it was the first time that Zoo cards were getting released. Now, this is also the same pattern that we just saw with a lot of things on the Chinese side of the game. They're releasing, these cards are coming to their side of the game. It's really, really coincidental that the OCG is now also getting new support for this. Zoo, it would make sense for Zoo to receive some sort of support right now because following the same pattern. Now, it is unlikely that could actually happen. I mean, we look for patterns in this game. We like to use patterns to facilitate, attempting to understand knowledge and try to make predictions and movements by what Konami's going to do. Zoodiac receiving some sort of upgrade would be very wishful thinking. I can't, at this point in time, the Zoo package is pretty rough because we don't have Broad Bull. Broad Bull is, even I think to this day, Broad Bull is still an incredibly broken card in the things that it's actually able to do in the game. But Barrage coming back and the checkmate to Ryzeal, they're both formerly, crazy decks in their right because rank 4 turbo, baby. But yeah, that's my theory right now. Barrage moving in the OCG, that it just creates an interesting dynamic for what you can actually, see quite possibly in the future. There's always going to be that one card that really sets an underlining tone as to what possibly can happen. Now, the overall feel of this. Now, we did the breakdown on the initial list and things like that, but I don't think, besides knocking out the big two, this list, it doesn't scream a lot of implications for the TCG. This list was a lot of fixing the problems that the OCG had left during the last list, which was, summon limit and just leaving Scythe alone. We told everybody a mile away that those were problems that you wanted to clean up. You don't want to leave those sorts of things sticking around out here for too long because you leave issues with these sorts of things. And that was basically them going, okay, we messed up. We need to go take care of these problems that we really had sticking around. And I respect them for doing that. These cards were actually taken care of by the TCG a long time ago. And, we don't have to deal with those problems anymore. And, leaving Scythe and that alone definitely left a lot to be desired. So I am actually glad that they did some changes. Now, Duelist Advance is on the horizon. We will actually probably see more of how this list and more of the implications of this list are going to kind of shape up. But from where I'm standing right now, or rather sitting, I think this was a very nice passive list. Enough to shift up the meta, let the next deck build pack do its thing, and then we can all cry about Duelist Advance, shaking things up. But that's where we're sitting right now. So what do you guys think? Please, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here in a day, guys.
Patrons!
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.